Shalom, brothers and sisters. Shalom. Giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. This presentation, we do not intend for it to be long. Nonetheless, we do want to, brothers and sisters, point out certain things. Please subscribe to the channel. Please like if you care to. And if you don't like, please leave it in the comments on why you do not like the presentation or the speech. We call this one here, brothers and sisters, one cannot say Deuteronomy 28 is about us while saying Jesus died for Israel. Now, why do we say that, brothers and sisters, is because of this. If we look real quickly, if we will, in the scriptures, and we can read in the book of Daniel, chapter 9, verse 11, and it says, "Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of God, because we have sinned against him." And looking at this, brothers and sisters, Daniel is confessing as an Israelite in his prayer to the Most High about the things that Israel has done. And in it, it says that we have not obeyed the voice of the Most High. Before that, it speaks about the people transgressing. And brothers and sisters, it says in the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of God, because we have sinned against him, the curse is poured upon us. Now, in your own time, you can read in Psalm 79, where it says we have become very low. And we as a people, as Israel, we have come very low. We've come very low in spirituality. We've come very low in unity. We've come very low in organization. We've come very low in loving one another. And the things that tear down good things has been magnified. And we as a people usually talk about the plight that we do go through and have gone through as a people. And what we say as Israelites is because we sadly are dealing with the curses that are in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. We have gone to the level of doing publications. We have gone to the level of making speeches in colleges. We've gone to the level, brothers and sisters, of standing on street corners as Israelites and speaking upon Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter. We're going to read some of the verses in Deuteronomy 28. And so it can be shown an example and seen why we say what we say concerning this kind of matter, if we will. All right. So what we're going to do now is thank you for the time and ask you all to get the scriptures out that you have. And we're going to read in Deuteronomy 28, verse 1 real quick. But we're not rushing when we say quick either. And it shall come to pass if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord your God, to observe to do all his commandments which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. Now, let's go, if we will, brothers and sisters, in Deuteronomy 29, verse 1, and I'm reading out of the regular standard King James Version. It says, "These are the words of the covenant which the Lord commanded Moses to make with the children of Israel in the land of Moab, beside the covenant which he made with them in Horeb." Now, the covenant that was made in Horeb, brothers and sisters, is the commandments. We see that in Exodus. We see that in Leviticus. And what we're reading right here in Deuteronomy 28 and in the King James Version in Deuteronomy 29, verse 1, is that these are the words of the covenant that was made between the Most High and Israel in Moab. All right. Now, brothers and sisters, let us look at this for edification purposes, if we will. If we were to go back, brothers and sisters, to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, Let's go, if you will, to verse 43. It says, the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee high, very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. So, brothers and sisters, what we want to point out for edification purposes is that the situation we cannot, house of Israel, say that we are the people of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, in fulfilling these curses, and then saying that our atonement was made at Calvary or Golgotha, in what is written in the New Testament with the death of Jesus and the shedding of his blood for the remission of Israel's sins. The issue becomes, brothers and sisters, because there would be no need for Israel to go into captivity if our atonement was made X amount of thousands of years ago. So we know already that the people in the said Old Testament did not have a concept of a set New Testament. Like, one of the things in the New Testament, it says that the New Testament and the understanding of Jesus is the shadow of things to come. So in other words, it was in the background of the Old Testament for the New Testament to come into existence. Some have stated that the book of Daniel is speaking about Jesus and the coming of the New Testament. The book of Daniel ends speaking upon itself as saying, seal the book even to the time of the end, in Daniel chapter 12. So Daniel the prophet would not be talking about a new book coming along in that particular case. When you read, for instance, in Daniel chapter 7, it goes from the beast being Babylon, Media, Persia, Greece, Rome, and then the horns that came up from it and plucked 3 down, and the little one that came up that made war with the saints of the Most High and prevailed against the saints of the Most High. We understand that little horn to be the later empire of Rome, aka the Western Hemisphere, America. If we understand that Psalms 148, letting the book speak for itself, verse 13, Psalms 148, where it says, the children of Israel, the saints of the Most High. The word even in the regular King James Version is not in the Hebrew. You know, where it says, even for the children of Israel, people near unto him. That word even, E-V-E-N, is not in the Hebrew in that case. But getting back, brothers and sisters, into the particular manner of this. Israel, we go vehemently hard concerning Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, verse 68, in saying the Egypt is not a literal Egypt. It is a spiritual and figurative Egypt. While we understand that in the commandments, it says Egypt, the house of bondage. So we already know, going back to Egypt in ships, as Deuteronomy 28 verse 68 speaks of, is not talking of the Egypt in Northeast Africa. We've gone over that quite often. So if that is speaking of the transatlantic slave trade, after the people were scattered, after they were brought down very low, and the transatlantic slave trade happened over 1,300 years, over 1,400 years from the matter of the New Testament, how then can we still lay claim to saying Deuteronomy 28 is us, and then saying Jesus' blood atoned for our iniquities and our sins? What has happened, and I say this in no disrespect, is that many Israelites awoken or came to this understanding while reading a Christian KJV, or while still under the understanding of Christianity, while perhaps not understanding there was a distinction between the Old Testament and the New Testament. Again, as the book did, as you see, written, no disrespect intended. I do not do these lessons or speeches to offend, castigate, or anything negative. I know that it is a very sensitive subject. I understand that it is something that some people in their hearts say, I don't know what I'm talking about, and will cite the New Testament saying the Antichrist has come into the earth. While at the same token, all Israelites have gone in many cases to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, have not gone to nowhere in the New Testament to show the prophecy of what happened with us in history. Deuteronomy 28, Jeremiah 16, Leviticus, the 26th chapter. Those things that have happened to us, prophesied and have happened to us in history, was done by the people who gave us Christianity. Do I believe from my studies that there was a person named Yeshua Haihudi or Joshua the Judean who was later on changed by the church into whom they call Jesus Christ of today? Yes. Brothers and sisters, there is a concept and a theme that runs through the New Testament. Whether it was written by Marcion, whether it was written by the Piso family, I do not co-sign to the New Testament being the work of the Flavian family, or the Caesars being Vespasian, Titus, and Domitian. No, there are some Israelites who are Old Testament who state that. I do not subscribe to that particular understanding, having read Josephus itself. Now, brothers and sisters, most of the people who speak and write in the New Testament do not speak upon knowing Jesus. The storyline of Yeshua and the storyline of Jesus is parallel. In the Gospels and throughout the recognition he's given in the letters of Paul. One of the things in the New Testament, Luke chapter 1. I'm going to read this before we close out, please. Luke chapter 1. And here's what this says. Again, I know that this is a sensitive subject. Luke 1 verse 1 says, "For as much as many have taken in hand to set forth in order a declaration of those things which are most surely believed among us, even as they delivered them unto us, which from the beginning were eyewitnesses and ministers of the word. It seemed good to me also, having had perfect understanding of all things from the very first, to write unto thee in order, most excellent Theophilus." Now, Luke doesn't claim in here to be an eyewitness of what he's talking about, but states that he had perfect understanding of all things from the very first. Verse 2 says, even as they delivered them unto us, which from the beginning were eyewitnesses. So Luke is saying that there were eyewitnesses who wrote about what he's going to write about to Theophilus. So when you go in Matthew chapter 10, from verse 22 on, you do not read Luke among the disciples of Jesus. You do not read Mark among the disciples of Jesus. And so while this, brothers and sisters, is the crux of the understanding of Jesus, Jesus did not know the people whom spoke of him in such case. Now, of course, Socrates in history is known through his students. That's not even a problem. The issue comes into play with the deification of Yeshua to Jesus, to where you'll begin to see certain things, and I'm going to type this in. For instance, the word here, Messiah, means, the word Messiah means anointed. There were Israelites who were saying it's really I meant to write Messiah means anointed. Spell matter on that case. There are some that are saying Messiah is really written in English as Messiah, as if Messi or Messiah means something, and it is Messi of Yah, whatever Messi is said to mean. I know in Hebrew, Meshi in Hebrew means silk, S-I-L-K, but Messiah is the English transliteration of the Hebrew word Mashiach, meaning anointed. Mashiach means anointed. It comes from the word mashak, which means to anoint. Leviticus chapter 4 speaks of HaKohen HaMashiach, the anointed priest. Why do I point that out, that it says that in Leviticus 4? Is because us as Old Testament Israelites are asked, or it's stated to us, the matter of HaMashiach, the Messiah, and already having a, no disrespect intended, perhaps misunderstanding of Messiah meaning anointed, that there were many who were anointed. For instance, Aaron and his sons in the Bible in Exodus were anointed. You have to where Elisha was anointed. You have the prophet, that is. You have it to where Saul, king of Israel, David, king of Israel, and Solomon, king of Israel, were anointed. You have Jehu, king of Israel, or Jehu, Jehu, king of Israel, who was anointed. And so looking at it in that particular manner, correct me if I'm wrong upon that, about those men whom I mentioned being anointed, I am open for constructive criticism. I am teachable. I know I go online, I promote my books, I talk about this and that, but yes, I am teachable. Giving honor to the Most High and remaining teachable. Brothers and sisters, getting back to the matter of the fact, in closing out, that we cannot say that Jesus Christ is our atonement while saying Deuteronomy 28 relates to us. Let's go, if we will, brothers and sisters, and close out on this manner, on Deuteronomy 28th chapter, right? And we're going to read verse 29 in this. And it says this, Deuteronomy 28, verse 29. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness, and thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and shall be only oppressed and spoiled more, and no man shall save thee. So if we know that it says, Wa'ain Moshiach, and there is no savior, there is no man to save us, and we can see that we as Israelites always have to go back to the old book, always go back to the said Old Testament, always going back to the Torah for the foundation for us to prove that we are of the house of Israel. When were we ever told to have to look for a new book? When you read in Isaiah line upon line and precept upon precept, the book that Isaiah had were all the books that were before him. Isaiah didn't have a New Testament. You understand? And I say in no disrespect, brothers and sisters, when you go into Deuteronomy 28, and we're going to close out on this note, it says in verse 58, if thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name, the Lord thy God. It says that are written in this book. The only book that Moses was instructed to write and what the priests were told to write after him is the Torah. The only book that Joshua had was the Torah. So the men of the Most High in the said Old Testament did not have a New Testament. So brothers and sisters, we have to come to an understanding that if we found out through the scriptures in the said Old Testament who we are, and it tells us all the words that are written in this book of the law, Israel, we know our history is different than the nations, and our future is different than the nations. Israelites in the New Testament ask questions such as this. What do we say about the end of the world and what is going to go on? If we stay in reading the said Old Testament, we don't have to ask that question, because the Most High already told us what's going to happen with the house of Israel in the book of Isaiah. You shall walk through the fire and shall not be burned. It tells you in Jeremiah, there shall be a time of trouble for Jacob, but he shall be saved out of it. The book of Ezekiel says that Israel will become a mighty army. So we already know our future if we stay in the Old Testament. We only have those kind of questions when we go into the New Testament, because we have forgotten our resting place, like Jeremiah says. With that, giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the creator of heaven and earth. Shalom.